My beloved child, you think my silence means I have gone far away. But in truth, I am only changing where I stand, so that I can protect you from an angle you have never seen. You think you have been left behind. Yet in that darkness, I am reshaping you with my patient hands. Do not be quick to conclude that I have forgotten you, for it is precisely in the moments when you are most desperate that I am standing closest to you. There is a story rarely mentioned in the Book of Kings, when the prophet Elisha and his servant were standing in the midst of the Aramean army that had surrounded them. The servant trembled, thinking that God had abandoned them, that their fate was sealed. But Elisha whispered a quiet prayer, "Lord, open his eyes that he may see." And immediately, music. The invisible curtain was drawn back on the mountaintops. There was an entire army of fire, radiant horses and chariots blazing, covering them, shielding them, defending them. What matters is this: the protection was there all along. It was only that human eyes had not yet seen it, and so hastily assumed that the Lord had gone away. That story is the very picture of many lives today. You see music, only the encirclement, but you do not see the wall of fire I have built around your soul. There are nights when you place your hand over your chest and hear your heart sigh, and you think it is the drumbeat of loneliness. You believe you have been forgotten in the sea of people, pushed out of my plans, pushed outside the circle of heaven's concern. Yet you don't know that at the very moment you feel most empty, I am quietly laying a new foundation within you. I do not let you hear my voice because I want you to hear the very cry that is rising from the depths of your own soul. Something that if I spoke too soon, you would overlook. Your first misunderstanding begins right here when you sense silence. You assume I have disappeared. Then on the days when everything goes against your wishes, you call it bad luck and call me the one who stands outside. You are upset because you miss the bus, because an opportunity slips through your fingers, because the words you long to hear are not spoken by the one you love. You blame me for not arranging a straight road for you to walk, forgetting that it is precisely at those bends in the road that I have redirected many disasters away from your life. You misunderstand, thinking I am making things hard for you. Yet you do not know that I am building an invisible fence around your steps, so that one day, when you look back, you will have to admit, if I had given you what you wanted, then you would have collapsed long ago. There are moments when you look at your age, your failures, your mistakes, the years that did not go as you had hoped, and you conclude that I have run out of plans for you. You trust the ticking countdown clock of your life more than you trust my timing. You see others moving faster and think you have been left behind. But you don't know that I am turning up the heat in the furnace just a little more so that the metal within you becomes pure enough for the journey ahead. This misunderstanding is dangerous because it makes you lose heart right before I open the very door you have been waiting for all these years. You think you are slow, when in truth I am pushing your roots deeper before your branches reach higher. There are days when your soul is so tired that you no longer even want to open your mouth to pray. You still try to appear strong in front of others. But when you close your door, music, you feel only a dim, murky darkness inside, as if the world has forgotten. You and I no longer bother to look your way. You sigh and wonder why the words you send up to heaven seem to drop right back down at your feet. Why your heart is full of longing and yet hears nothing but prolonged silence. You begin to believe that you are invisible, that I am busy with better people, and that you are just a faint dot on the great canvas of the universe. Yet precisely in the place where you think I am most silent, I am working more quietly than you can imagine. You see only the emptiness. But I see things you are not calm enough to understand. When you think you have been abandoned in reality, I am allowing you to step into a classroom that only deep souls recognize the school of spiritual maturity. There are things that if I answered immediately, you would never learn the lesson of perseverance. If I comforted you too quickly, you would lose your sensitivity to my call. I know the tears you shed at midnight. I hear your sigh even when you do not dare to name your pain. You are not invisible at all. You are simply being led into a season where I choose to heal you through silence rather than through words. The greatest danger is not that you do not hear me, but that you begin to put a label on yourself. I do not matter to God. When you allow that thought to slip in, it slowly makes you withdraw, grow indifferent to holy things, and see moments of prayer as mere formality. But I do not let you drift too far in that pattern of thinking. I interrupt your negative stream of thoughts with small signs you dismiss as coincidence. A line in a video, a piece of music that touches your wound, a word of comfort from the person you least expected. These are not vague accidents. They are the channels I borrow to reach your heart, to remind you that you have never been forgotten, not even for a second. You need to remember this. Do not use human coldness to measure the depth of God's concern. I am not silent because I am indifferent. I am silent because I am opening a path you cannot yet see. I am not slow because I lack love. I move slowly because I want to lead you to a place where your soul is strong enough to stand firm. When you feel farthest from me is precisely when I am nearest to you. I am simply standing behind the wall of trials, waiting for you to take one more step so you can discover that my love for you has never changed. If you knew how I have watched over, guarded, and upheld your soul through every weary breath, you would stop calling yourself abandoned and begin to look at your circumstances with clearer eyes. For sometimes the feeling of being forgotten is not the truth. It is only a thin layer of mist hiding the light I am already shining upon your life. You often look at disappointments in your life through the eyes of someone who has given up hope. You treat delays, postponed meetings, and missed opportunities as signs that I do not place you under my special providence. You sigh and call it bad luck, then reproach me for letting your days become so chaotic. You think that if I truly loved you, your path would be straight light, with few collisions and little pain. But you forget that a path that is too smooth only breeds carelessness, while a winding road teaches your soul how to keep its balance. I do not arrange the rough stretches to make things difficult for you, but to keep you from the turns that could shatter your heart even more. There are things you cannot see on the surface. You see only a closed door, but I see what lies behind it. You see only an opportunity slipping from your hands, but I see the dark side of that opportunity, the place where you might be wounded more deeply than you imagine. You see only people rejecting you, but I see the full extent of their character, intentions, and influence on your soul if that relationship were to continue. You view life through a very narrow slice of your emotions in that moment. I see your life as a wide, long map from your old wounds to the trials to come to the graces you are not yet strong enough to carry. That is why at times I say no, not because you are unworthy, but because you are not ready to bear consequences you yourself cannot foresee. You do not realize it. But in many situations, it is precisely the delays, the seemingly meaningless events, the days you call the end of your lucky streak, that are in fact the shield I raised to keep you from harm. A phone call you were waiting for that never came. A door you tried to push open that did not budge. A person you trusted who walked away. All these lie within my careful control. If I let everything follow your whims, you would be led by your impulses, pulled by glittering but unreal things, and wounded by people who appear suitable on the outside, but whose nature would only lead you astray. You reproach me for what you lose, but you do not realize that I have kept for you what is most precious, your soul still intact. Do you remember the times you begged me for something at any cost? You pleaded. You insisted, convinced that if I granted it, you would be happier. Yet as time passed, you realized that what you once desired so fiercely had become a burden for someone else. If I had yielded to you, then you might now be carrying pains you are by grace spared from today. Some things are withheld because I love you, but some things are taken away also because I love you. You see only the word loss, but I see the word preservation. You think I am robbing you of joy, but I know that I am disarming a future sorrow you would never have had the strength to face. The danger lies here. You start to see every difficulty as a sign that I do not love you. You confuse trials that help you grow with disasters meant to destroy you. You cannot distinguish between the scratch that wakes you up and the blow I have already blocked on your behalf. You grow angry at me for the walls standing before you, not realizing that these walls have saved you from much darker valleys. You resent me for not letting you walk straight ahead. But you do understand that the straight road you long for hides a deep pit you cannot see. You want everything to be smooth so that life feels easy. Cusick, I want you to mature so that you can live stronger, wiser, and freer. There are times when you complain, why does God keep letting bad things happen to me? But you have never asked, if I did not intervene, how much worse would those things have become? You see only what you lose, not what I have kept from you. You see only the obstacle before your eyes, not the rescue behind it. You see only what you do not have, not what you do not have to endure, because I stopped it before it could harm you. If I let you look back at all the strange coincidences, all the times you escaped in the last moment, all the times someone happened to say a sentence that changed your decision, you would know that I have never stood outside your life, not even for an instant more than once. I have pulled you out of things you clung to, thinking they were happiness, when in fact they were draining your soul. You kept accusing me of taking away what you wanted, not knowing that I was giving you back what you needed. I took away the one who did not know how to cherish you, to bring you the one who can recognize the true worth of your soul. I took away a path that looked bright, but was bright only on the surface. Inside it was full of shadows that could swallow your calling whole. You saw the false light and called it opportunity. I saw the long, slow wearing down and called it the waste, music, I do not want you to fall into. You must understand this. I never allow trials to come without meaning. Trials are not punishment. They are a form of protection. When you go through what you did not want, I am not standing far away as a spectator. I walk beside you, letting your heart grow stronger, bit by bit. I let you stumble a little so you can learn how to stand. I let you slow down so you can see the road more clearly. I let you feel the hollow ache so your soul can discern between what has true value and what is only beautiful in your imagination. Each time you face hardship, you think I have left. But in truth, in those very moments, I place my hand on your shoulder more firmly than ever. I long for you to pause and look at your life with the eyes of someone who is being protected, not with the eyes of someone who is being punished. When a door closes, ask, what is behind this that I have not yet seen? When a plan falls apart, ask, am I being saved from something even greater? When someone walks away, ask who would I have become if that person had stayed. Portrayed, you will see that every near miss, every wrong beat, every time life refuses to go according to your wishes, has a carefully arranged reason. I never let a miracle happen carelessly. and I never allowed delay to occur without carrying within it a subtle reward. Do not grow weary of me just because I do not indulge your passing emotions. My love for you is not founded on the shallow impulsiveness of a fleeting moment. That love looks far, looks deep, looks into the very shape of your soul in the future. Music. I did not form you so that you would live an easy but empty life. I formed you so that you would live a life of depth of courage, of the capacity to pass through storms and still keep your inner light clear. And for that to happen, you must walk through the trials I allow to enter your life, not to exhaust you, but to make you more steadfast and more spacious within. So I want you to look again at all the times you almost had it in your life, and ask me a question that many people do not dare to ask. If that day you had given me exactly what I wanted, would I still be standing today? I believe that when you answer this question with complete honesty, you will see that I have protected you far more than you ever felt. Because my love for you is not a love that keeps you in passive safety, but a love that teaches you to grow strong, to discern, to recognize what truly brings life. I never abandon you. I am only saving you in ways you have not yet learned how to understand. There are seasons in your life when you look back on your youth and see only crumpled pages. You regret the years that slipped away like the wind, regret the opportunities you missed, regret the dreams you once held but never carried out. You look around and see people far ahead of you. Some more successful, some more stable, some already close to their dreams. While you are still fumbling along with hesitant steps, then your soul whispers that you are late. Too late to change, too late to begin again, too late for me to still open a way just for you. But my child, that is the gentlest yet most deadly lie that darkness loves to plant in the minds of those I love. For as soon as you believe that you are too late, you yourself close every door I am about to open. You do not know that I hold time in my hand, while time itself is but a falling leaf resting in my palm. You feel pressured by the pace of society, by the rhythm of others, by invisible deadlines that I never set for you. You think that dreams must blossom while you are still young, that your calling must appear while you are still full of energy. You think I only use those who keep perfect pace, while my history has been written with people who walked slowly, who even seemed to be going the wrong way. Do you remember Abraham when I promised him descendants as numerous as the stars? He was so old that the promise itself seemed absurd. Do you remember Moses? He thought his life had ended when he had to flee into the desert for 40 years. Do you remember Peter? He thought he had failed completely after he denied me 3 times. And yet precisely in the too late that people declared to be the end of hope, I built the most radiant stories of salvation. Therefore, when you look at your life and say, I am late, I simply smile. For I know that the moment you call late is the very moment I call the right season. You do not see that the very years which seem useless have quietly been nurturing within you what a few quick months could never create: depth, perseverance, humility, and a heart that understands the pain of others. You do not see that the very failures you despise are softening your heart so that you will be truly merciful in the future. You have not yet realized that the very wounds that once brought you to your knees are becoming fertile ground for a great calling to grow without being overshadowed by pride. No span of time is meaningless in my hands. Not a single day passes without leaving some important trace in your soul. Even if you don't see it, the truth is that you are not waiting for me. You are waiting for results. You think I am slow because you have not yet seen any fruit. You think I have forgotten you because your dream has not yet taken shape. but you do not know that a seed must lie in the ground for a very long time before it begins to sprout. The light above the soil never sees the silent battles of the seed in the darkness, its struggle with hard earth, with cold, with insects, music, with the long night. I am deepening your roots before bringing you into the light. I am taking apart in you the wrong motives, music, the fragile ambitions, the beautiful yet unreal illusions. If I were to let you step into your dream while your heart is not yet pure enough, you would end up destroying the very promise I have given you. And you keep thinking that I have done nothing all these years, but you do not see what I am preparing, the people I am leading into your life, the doors, music, I am quietly redirecting. The events that must fall into place at just the right moment, so that not a single piece of the puzzle is missing. Kisik. A calling is not an industrial product, quickly manufactured. It is a handcrafted work that requires time, breath, and even endurance. I am never in a hurry when creating something beautiful. I am never rushed when shaping a precious soul. Slow does not mean no. Late does not mean lost. Silence does not mean I am standing still. My child, I want to tell you this gently. Yet with firm resolve, you have never been a single day late in my plan. You may be behind schedule in your own plans, but you have never missed a beat in mine. I did not make you to run after someone else's calendar. I made you to walk at the pace that is truly yours. When I decide to open a path for you, no one can get ahead of you. When I choose to hold you back, no one can pull you forward faster. You do not need to compare yourself with anyone, because your journey does not coincide with any other pair of feet in this world. There is one thing I want you to remember clearly. A true calling is never lost. It is only delayed so that it may be completed. Delay is not rejection. It is the process by which your heart becomes wide enough to receive the great things I want to give. If I were to place important things into your hands too soon, they would weigh you down. But if I give them at the right time, they will become wings that lift you up. And you will understand why I have let you pass through so many stretches of life that seemed blocked and hopeless. Because I want you to be steadfast, without arrogance. Confident, yet still humble, able to fly high without forgetting the ground. I know there are nights when you sigh and say, maybe I should give up. I know you think your life is now nothing but smudged, stained pages. But when I look at those very pages, I see a book that has not yet been finished. I see chapters ahead that are far more beautiful than anything you have already walked through. You see only the present. I see the whole story. Music. You see the night. I see the dawn. You see wasted years. I see years of preparation. You see yourself as slow. I see you moving at exactly the speed that keeps your soul from burning out. You are not late. You are simply being brought to the exact point from which all the doors must open at once. And when I open them, you will understand all those years when you thought you were going backward were in fact the backward steps needed to gain momentum. Trust me, no calling is ever lost simply because time has passed. Only a soul that abandons itself will fail to see what I have prepared. But I believe you are not someone who gives up. I know there is still a spark within you. If you will place that spark in my hands, I will turn it into a torch that will lead you to the promise. There are pains in your life that have sunk so deep that you have begun to treat them as part of who you are. They are no longer merely memories. They have become the lens through which you look at the world and at yourself. You have endured betrayal, contempt, abandonment, wounds inflicted by those you thought were meant to protect you. You have lost faith in goodness, And little by little, you have fastened an invisible label onto your heart. I am not good enough. I am damaged. I am a flawed version of creation. You do not speak these words aloud, but I hear this self-condemnation every night. They are like tiny thorns, piercing your soul, making you shrink back, close in on yourself, afraid to love, afraid to open your heart, afraid to receive what is good. You do not realize that the most dangerous thing is not the wound itself, but your choice to build your identity around it. A wound is only something that happened in the past. But when you embrace it as your identity, it becomes a prison. You remember exactly who hurt you. Remember the tone in their voice. Remember the moment you collapsed. You remember it so vividly that you begin to think, this is who I am. This is the definition of my life. But my child, the wound is what others did to you. Your true identity is what I proclaim over you. When you allow the wound to rewrite your name, you are giving authority to pain instead of giving authority to me, the one who formed you with loving hands. I know there are memories you have locked away in the darkest room of your soul. You do not want to remember, do not want to think, do not want to touch them. You think that locking them away will make them disappear. But pain never disappears when it is buried. It only sleeps. Then rises again in the moments when you are weakest. It makes you doubt everything, even me. It causes you to see every promise through the eyes of a victim and compels you to keep a safe distance from anything that resembles hope. You do not believe that others truly love you because your past once proved the opposite. You do not believe you deserve peace because within you, the wound has become yourself. Yet I look at you and say, the wound has no right to determine your worth. I am the one who defines you. In my hands, a wound is not an ending mark. It is a beginning point. Music. I do not deny your pain, nor do I force you to forget it. I want you to look straight at it. But with me standing right beside you like a potter, I see the crack in the clay vessel. Yet I don't discard it. Dank. I place it into the fire, not to burn it to ashes, but so that its fractures may be sealed, even made more beautiful. When you entrust your wounds to me, I will turn them into testimonies of intervention, not marks of destruction. But this can only happen when you truly hand them over, not when you keep holding on to them as an excuse for your fears. There are moments when you are afraid to lay your pain down, not because it is comfortable, but because it is familiar. You are afraid that if those wounds are no longer there, you will not know who you are. You are afraid that healing means you must forgive, and forgiving means you will have nothing left with which to protect yourself. But my child, clinging to pain is never a form of safety. It only keeps you living in the darkness longer. Music. I am not asking you to be strong all at once. I only ask you to open the smallest crack so that I may touch you. A soul that opens even a little is a soul that has already begun to be healed. Let me lead you into the place where you have hidden your memories, not so that you may hurt again, but so that I may place medicine exactly where. For so long you have allowed no one to touch. I want to touch the rejection you have never dared to speak of. I want to touch the loss you have tried to cover with a brave face. I want to touch the seemingly harmless words that made you crumble from within. You have carried them for so long that your body and your soul have grown heavy. I want to lift them from your shoulders. But I cannot do that if you keep holding on to them as if they were your most precious possessions. I want you to know a truth. You rarely believe your wounds will become the gateway through which others are healed. I do not waste anyone's pain. When you place your wounds in my hands, I will shape them into a powerful testimony. Others will see resurrection in you. and they will believe that I can do the same for them. Your scars will become a light that points the way for souls in despair. The very things that made you feel completely broken are what I will use to open a path for many others. But no grace of salvation can work through a heart still imprisoning itself in pain. You must step out of the role of the one who was hurt and step into the identity of one who has been touched by me. You are not what people have done to you. You are what I declared about you before you saw the first light of your life. You are not the ache of your past. You are the breath I am breathing into your music present. You are not a faulty version. You are an unfinished, yet hope-filled work in my hands. Music, the one who never abandons any work once begun. I invite you to one thing, only one thing, but it will change your whole life. Let me open the doors of memory that you fear the most. I do not open them to expose you. I open them to set you free. I do not touch to make you hurt more. I touch so that you may know pain no longer has the right to rule over you. When you dare to place your wounds in my hands, you will see a wondrous thing. The very pain that once brought you to your knees will become the place where I raise you up the strongest. You often cry out to me to rescue you, yet deep within you do not want to move. You beg me to make a way. But when the path begins to appear, you hesitate. You stand still waiting for another sign, another guarantee. You want to see a miracle, but you do not want to step into the small, concrete part that is yours. You want me to heal you. Yet you hold on to your old ways of thinking, your old habits, your old relationships, your old way of life, the very things that are the source of your brokenness. You do not realize it. But this is a passive kind of faith, wanting everything to be done for you, without wanting to do together with me. And if you remain in that place, even if miracles happen around you, they cannot take deep root in your life. You have no idea how many times I have set the whole host of heaven in motion for you. You see only how tangled your life seems. But you do not know how many invisible battles have been fought on your behalf. You feel only your weariness, but you do not see how many arrows aimed at your soul have been snapped before they reached you. There have been nights when you slept with a heavy heart feeling abandoned, yet I had my army standing guard. There have been moments when you almost collapsed in despair, but a fragile thread of hope still held you. That thread was in my hand. I, my Holy Spirit, and all my angels have never ceased working for you. And yet, on your side, so many times, you only want to stand and watch. You want me to break the chains, but you refuse to let go of the last strand, still gripped in your hand. You want me to close harmful doors. Music. Yet you keep your finger caught in the frame, wanting the door shut, while still leaving a gap. You want me to make your heart new. Yet you cling tightly to the poisons you have grown accustomed to. You say, "Set me, music, free." And then you turn right back to the same patterns of thought, to the same places. The same people you know will drag your soul down into the pit. You do not see this contradiction, but I see it clearly. You long for a miracle, yet you are afraid to let that miracle change your real everyday life. Passive faith makes you accustomed to the role of the victim. You retell over and over what others have done to you, the injustices, the wounds, the losses, as if that were the whole story. You need to be heard, and I understand that. But I don't want you to spend your whole life in the role of the injured one, because when you see yourself only as a victim, you will always be waiting for others to change for circumstances, to change for some miracle to appear from the outside. And you forget that I am also inviting you to change from within. I do not deny what you have gone through. I simply do not want you to build your house forever on that land of sorrow. Music. I want you to step out, even if it is only one small step, so that your life is no longer defined by what has happened, but by the one who is walking with you. Remember this, a miracle is not always a dazzling event exploding on the outside. A miracle is, first of all, the moment you dare to cooperate with grace. When I say to you, forgive that too, is part of the miracle. When I say, leave that path behind, that is the difficult part of the miracle. When I urge you, return to prayer, to my word, to an upright life, that is when I am opening a way for my power to enter every layer of your existence. Miracles do not happen by you, just sitting there, giving up, waiting for some sudden turn that makes everything disappear. Miracles happen when my hand takes yours, and together we begin to act. So many times I have whispered in your heart. Music. Take one step, not a giant leap but a small step, just enough to show that you still want to live, still want to believe, still want to walk with me. I say, open your heart again. Even when you tremble because you have been hurt before, I say, lay that burden down. Even when you feel it has fused to your very self, I do not demand that you be perfect before you come to me. I only ask that you not insist on fixing yourself in the same old place. My spirit has often stirred your heart, bringing tears to your eyes, at a verse of scripture, a word of reminder, a sharing that touches your deepest wound. That is not a passing emotion. That is me knocking at the door. But if you are moved only for a moment, and then go back to living exactly the same way, that flame will slowly die. I see in you a music, deep longing. You want to be strong, to be free, to be unbound, to escape the cycles of sin, the repeated music. Wearing relationships, the familiar temptations, yet between longing and reality. You often stop at wanting without doing anything. You wait until you feel inspired enough, until circumstances become easier, until others change first, until I clear away every obstacle before you move. But my child, true faith does not wait for everything to be favorable before it dares. True faith begins when you step out even while your heart is still trembling. Even while circumstances are not yet settled, even while your wounds have not completely disappeared. I want you to understand this. I do not need a flawless warrior in order to use you. I use those whose hands still tremble when they take up the sword, yet they dare to grasp it. I use those who still carry scars, yet dare to stand up. I use those who have fallen before, but refuse to use their failures as an excuse to stay down. I do not want you to live a faith that ends with being moved by a video or shedding tears, music, at a song, only to have your life remain unchanged afterward. I want your faith to become a decision. Squant. A decision not to return to the old cycle. A decision to leave environments that corrupt your soul. A decision to say no to what draws you away from me. A decision to say yes to what I am inviting you to, even if it seems small. Many times you say to me, please give me music, peace. But peace does not descend upon a heart that continues to feed toxic thoughts. You must cooperate by reordering your way of thinking, choosing not to let yourself drift along with dark assumptions about yourself, about others, about me. You ask me to deliver you from temptation, yet you keep placing yourself in situations where you easily fall. You ask me to lead you out of harmful relationships, yet you are the one who reaches out, clings, and keeps hoping in things I have shown you again and again do not belong to you. You ask me to heal you, yet you destroy yourself with words of self-condemnation every single day. I am not there to watch you endlessly beat yourself up. I am there so that you may learn with me to walk in a different way. I invite you to rise from the spectator's music seat. Do not look at your life only as a sad movie in which you are the character oppressed by fate. I have placed in you the capacity to respond. You can choose to pray instead of merely complain. You can choose to seek my word instead of chasing voices that only distract you. You can choose to seek a community, a spiritual companion, instead of staying alone while dark thoughts devour you. You can choose to be honest with me about your temptations and weaknesses, instead of sinning and then hiding from me. Each such choice is a small step, but it is the step of a warrior, not of a victim. The warrior in me is not the one who never cries. A warrior is one who knows how to weep and still prays, who knows weariness and still clings to faith, who knows their weakness and still dares to say, "Use me." You may tremble when you say that, but say it anyway. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is walking on while fear is still present. I do not require that all your pain vanish before you can praise. I only ask that you do not let pain silence your thanksgiving. I do not require your life to be completely in order before you come to me. I want you to bring all that disorder and place it in my hands and together with me. Tidy it up little by little. My child, I have done and am doing my part. Protecting, intervening, lifting you up, enlightening you. Now, it is time for you to do your part, to obey, to walk, to choose to cooperate. When my part and your part meet, the miracle will not remain only on your lips, not remain only as a fleeting feeling. It will penetrate the very structure of your life, shaping the way you love, the way you think, the way you work, the way you face suffering. Then your faith will no longer be merely a beautiful idea, but a new way of living. I do not promise you a path without tears, but I promise that if you will stop standing still and begin to cooperate with me, step by step, day by day, music, you will see you are no longer someone swept away by circumstances, but one who walks with God. And that is the greatest miracle of your life. I have seen the whole course of your journey long before you could name your first dream. What seems to you as nothing is happening does not mean my hands are empty. There are many things I have set aside for a time, not because I forgot, but because I know that if I place them in your hands too early, they themselves would weigh on you so heavily that you would no longer recognize who you are. There are blessings which, if given while your heart is still immature, would become pressure, become reasons. Music, for you to boast in yourself, rather than give thanks to me. I do not want blessings to become chains. I wait until your heart is soft enough, deep enough, awake enough to hold what I have prepared, without losing yourself. That is why there has been a long season when you thought you were standing still, that every door remained shut, when in truth, that was the time I was patiently shaping the inner part of you, the part no one sees, yet the very part that will determine your whole life. Don't think that the fact you still haven't been able to lay your hands on the things you long for is a sign that I am standing outside your life. In reality, it is precisely in those silent stretches that I have time and again redirected a meeting, changed the time of a trip, adjusted the route you take to music. Work slowed down a message that seemed harmless. Every small detail, every event that doesn't go according to plan is a stroke of the pen I use to redraw the path of your life. When you think you are being left hanging in midair, I am quietly arranging each piece so that when you step into the moment I have appointed, everything is ready. You only see the emptiness in front of you, but I am preparing the fullness behind the scenes. You only see yourself being delayed, but I am keeping you from rushing headlong into a land where your soul hasn't yet put down enough roots to stand firm. Now, deep within, you can sense that something is different from before, can't you? It is no coincidence that lately your heart has become more easily moved by the things that belong to me. It is no coincidence that while you are hurriedly scrolling through so much noise, you suddenly stop and linger over a single line that touches the deepest part of your heart. It is not by accident that right in the middle of your busyness, an urge rises up to come back to me, to kneel music, to talk with me. Even though you don't quite know, why, that is not just a strange feeling. That is the stirring of my spirit. He is gently breathing on the area you thought had gone completely cold, rekindling embers you thought were dead. That urge to cry without knowing what to call it. That faint ache in your heart when you hear someone speak about returning. That strange peace that appears when there seems to be no reason at all to be at peace. All of these music are signals for you to know I am waking you up from the long sleep of disappointment and self-contempt. Do not make light of these small signs. When my spirit begins to move, he rarely comes with noise, with thunder, with events that shake the world before your eyes. He usually comes as a gentle breath, as a quiet yet deep feeling, as urgings that seem vague but refuse to die out. You may deny him. You may try to ignore him, but he remains persistent. He is like a breeze that slips through the crack of the door. Even though you have tried to shut it tight, he touches your memory, reminding you of the holy desires you once buried under the worries of daily bread. He allows you to see more clearly the emptiness within that nothing in this world can fill. That sense that something is missing is itself an invitation. It is not meaningless dissatisfaction, but a bell ringing to say it is time for you to step into a new stage. I know you have at times concluded that your life is delayed, that your age, your mistakes, your detours, your wandering years have pushed you off the rails of my plan. I know you have often whispered to yourself, if only I had known sooner. If only I had started earlier. If only I hadn't wasted so much time. You compare yourself with others. Look at what they have achieved, and then use that as a stamp to seal over your own life. I'm too late. Surely God has no more plans for me. But I say to you again, I do not make plans according to the rushed schedule of this world. I do not measure the worth of a life by whether you started earlier or later than those around you. I look at whether you are willing to let me use you or not. In my kingdom, there are those who are only called at the late afternoon hour, yet they still receive their share in full. So let go of the shame of arriving late. You are not someone who has missed the train and is left standing alone on a cold platform. You are like a tree that has been planted in dry soil for a long time, whose roots have already driven deep into the ground. When the rain comes, that tree will draw water more strongly than the ones just newly planted. What you call wasted years, I see, as the years that have taught you to feel, to have compassion, to understand, to place yourself inside the pain of others. The opportunities you think have slipped away do not leave behind only regret. They help you recognize that you cannot steer everything by yourself the way you once imagined. You step into this phase not with naive youthful innocence, but with a heart that has been seasoned, has been broken, and now thirsts for what is true. And it is precisely that heart that I need, in order for your calling to be lived out in depth. Have you noticed that recently, the things that once intoxicated you have begun to lose their flavor? Outward pleasures no longer cover the emptiness inside. Words of praise no longer make you feel that you are enough. The entertainments that once helped you forget your life now only leave you more exhausted. This is not a sign that you are burned out on life. It is a sign that you no longer fit the old version of yourself. I am stretching your heart so it can hold things that are greater, purer, more full of light. Until now, you have barely had enough strength to think for yourself, for your personal plans, for the narrow circle around you. But when my spirit blows, he widens your vision, giving you the desire to live, not only for yourself, but also for other souls, for stories that go beyond the boundaries you once set. Psik, I want you to understand this. You are not so small that I cannot perform something extraordinary through your life. What the world calls ordinary, unremarkable, I can still use as precious material. I have chosen people who were not highly regarded, faces no one paid attention to, those who had made many mistakes, and through them I have written radiant chapters. I delight in writing a story with pens that seem to be the ones no one wants to use, not because I lack options, but so that no one can mistake the outcome as the work of their own strength. When people are astonished and ask, "How could it be this person?" I smile because that is the very sign that my hand is at work. You too are on the list of those whom I want to use in this way. If you are willing to place your life in my hands, including the parts you consider ruined, flawed, or dark, you may still be asking yourself, but how can I know if this really is the right time? How do I avoid confusing mere emotion with a true invitation? You do not need to understand every detail. I am not asking you to grasp the entire blueprint. I only ask you to respond with very small but concrete steps. When your heart stirs with the desire to return to me more deeply, do not quench it with the words, "Maybe another day." When you feel urged to let go of a relationship that is wearing down your soul, do not rush to bargain with me. When you hear a thought resounding within, you go back to prayer. Touch my word. Seek me more earnestly. Take that as the sound of your own name being called. You do not need a large signboard falling down from the sky. The changing of seasons in a soul always begins with movements that are gentle but persistent, like that at the appointed time I have set. The things that truly belong to you will appear along your path without you having to fight and grab for them. But their arrival is not given so that you can sit back and enjoy them, but so that you can cooperate even more wholeheartedly. I am not leading you into a phase made up only of favorable conditions. I am leading you to a place where every step you take becomes a lived yes. The graces I give you are not medals to be displayed, but instruments for service. The great doors I am about to open are not there to give your ego more room to grow, but to give you opportunities to pass on to others what has been comforting, healing, and teaching you through all these years. Music. You are being prepared not to be impressive, but to be steady when the eyes of others are turned toward you. Today, in this very moment, as you are reading these lines, I am saying to you, I will not abandon you halfway. Every bruise, every stumble, every sleepless night has been taken into account by me. No detail in your life is superfluous. Even the turns that seem like mistakes can be used by me to help you understand music more deeply, the weakness of your brothers and sisters, so that you know how to bend down rather than look at anyone with condemning eyes. You have been at the bottom of the pit. So when I lift you out and place you on higher ground, you will not forget that everything is grace. That is precisely what makes you a safe instrument in my hand. Not relying on yourself, not forgetting the source, not losing a heart of mercy. Therefore, let the lie that says you are too late, too bad, too small, fall away. Today I am calling you to step out of the old version of yourself, the one that knew only how to look at life with weary and self-blaming eyes. I am opening for you a new chapter. not with dazzling fireworks, but with my spirit, quietly kindling a flame in your heart. There, little by little, he will teach you to stand up, to walk, to trust again, to allow yourself to be used as an instrument. This moment is not a meaningless extension of your ending. This is the first page of another part of the book of your life, the part I want to write with you, not in place of you. If all you have left is a small shred of courage, bring it to me. I will use exactly that little bit to set an entire new journey in motion. And you will realize you were never forgotten. You were only being prepared more carefully than you ever imagined. Have you ever tried sitting quietly with yourself for a long time and asked throughout the road, I have traveled. How many times has God intervened in silence without my noticing it at all? There were days you were irritated because of traffic jams, because your motorbike broke down halfway, because a train was delayed, because an appointment fell apart at the last minute, and you called those things bad luck, a terrible day. But if I allowed you to see the picture on the other side of those incidents, you would shudder. It may be that the very delay you despised kept you from an accident, from a meeting, from a slip that, had it happened, would have wounded your soul far more deeply. I did not keep you from leaving on time because I wanted to wreck your plans, but because I was protecting something more precious than any schedule, the life and the soul that belong to you. You often dwell on the things you do not have, on the yeses you have waited for and still never hear, on doors you have knocked on again and again that no one opens, on messages you send that seem to receive no reply. You quickly conclude that you are not valued, that I am indifferent, that life has turned its back on you. Yet you do not realize that not every shining opportunity is a blessing, and not everyone who comes knocking on the door of your life brings goodness to your heart. There are certain nods of approval which, if they appeared at the exact moment you longed for them, would open up an entire chain of tragedies. There are relationships which, if you continued in them, would devour your peace and your self-respect. There are jobs which, if you seized at all costs, would lead you far from me and far from your own true self. That is why at times I do not respond according to your wishes, not because I do not love you, but because I see clearly that behind what you call a dream, there is in fact a sugar-coated trap. If you knew how many times I have stood between you and a wrong choice, you would stop calling yourself unlucky. Every time you feel that everything is out of sync, off plan, not going the way you wanted, you see only what is right in front of you, while I see the long current that stretches behind it. You may not understand why that door closed, why that person left, why that promise was not fulfilled. But I do. I know what you would become if those things had continued. I see you a few years from now. You many years from now. You in seasons that you cannot even imagine today. Precisely because I see farther. There are moments when I must have the courage to refuse you, even though I know it hurts you in that instant. Music. True love does not always say yes. Sometimes love is compelled to say no in order to rescue you from the very yes you are demanding at any music price. What I long for you to learn is not to force yourself to smile when you are in difficulty, to pretend that you are fine, or to deny your feelings, but to learn how to place events under a different light. Instead of asking, "Why is everything against me?" try asking, "Could it be that I am being kept from something I cannot yet see clearly?" Instead, music of quickly judging, "I am always the one who is forgotten." Try gently whispering, "Perhaps this is the way you are redirecting my path." The questions you ask will shape the way you see life. When you ask in resentment, you will see only injustice. When you ask in trust, your eyes will gradually begin to recognize my traces, the places where my hand has touched your life in hidden music ways. You do not have to force yourself to believe all at once. but you can begin with small things. Remember a time in the past when you were angry with me over some disappointment, but many years later, looking back, you had to admit that if everything had happened, then exactly as you wished, you would not have the peace you have today. That is the proof that I was protecting you without your knowing it. And if I have done that for you, once I can do it again and again and again. I do not change. My heart toward you does not change. It is only you who change the way you interpret what happens. You often demand that I explain why immediately. Music. You want clear answers. This reason, that meaning, this purpose. But my child, many times what you need is not an explanation but a presence. Even the most perfect explanation cannot wipe away the tears on your face. But when you become aware that I am by your side, your pain begins to have room to breathe. Music. You ask me, where are you when I am exhausted? And today I answer you by my very nearness. I am using these lines to touch the deepest place you have tried to hide. I am not answering you with theories. I am answering you with myself. I am here in this very moment in the midst of the countless noises of the world, placing my hand upon your heart and saying, I am still here. I have never left. You may or may not believe it, but the very fact that you are reading these words is music, already a sign. Among the millions of things you could scroll past, you stopped here. Among the thousands of concerns that could occupy you, you chose to give time to this conversation. Do you think that is just coincidence? I have used even algorithms, suggestions, and your accidental clicks to open a small pathway into your mind. Because you have grown so accustomed to feeling invisible, I must use very concrete things to show you that I am aiming at you. Music. You personally right now, I am not speaking in general. I am speaking in the singular to the heart that stands before me, to the one who is reading these lines with a weariness no one else fully understands. I know there have been moments when you have told yourself, what is the point of praying? I keep talking, but no one hears. You imagine that the words you speak in the dark simply dissolve into the air. Yet every whisper of yours is recorded by me. Not in some lifeless notebook, but in my very heart, when you sigh without words. I still understand the entire content of that sigh. When all you can manage is, "Oh God," and then fall silent. I hear all the sentences you could not finish. Prayer is not you presenting a report to a distant king. Prayer is the moment when you open a small crack for me to step into your inner world. Every time you lift your heart up, even with a very short word, you are giving me permission to act more deeply. When you choose to believe even before you see anything, change, heaven and earth have already begun to shift. Your faith is not a passing rush of enthusiasm, but a decision. Even though I don't yet understand, I still want to cling to you. I don't stand still before such a decision. There are things I transform at once within your soul. A new strength, a strange peace, a gentleness hard to explain. There are also things I change gradually. One door closing, one relationship, cooling, a new opportunity quietly emerging. You may not be able to connect all the pieces, but I know exactly how each step has been turned. Not for a single minute, not for a single second. Do I leave you to struggle alone in the dark? You think that many moments in your life are excess, wasted, useless. But in my eyes, not a single second is empty. On the days when you feel you are just getting through, I am still quietly sowing seeds. On the mornings, when you wake up heavy and burdened, I still let a ray of light slip through the window to touch your face. On the nights when you think you cannot endure one more moment, and yet somehow you make it through, still here, still breathing. That too is a sign that I have been carrying you. Even if you did not realize it, your perseverance did not appear out of nowhere. It is the result of countless times I have strengthened you in secret. I do not promise you that from now on everything will be smooth and perfect. I do not promise to remove every traffic jam, every unexpected, no, every plan turned upside down. But I promise that if you learn to see with the eyes of faith, you will no longer collapse every time things do not go your way. Instead, you will gradually learn to pause and say, perhaps in this situation, God is protecting me in a way I do not yet understand. When you begin to live like that, your faith is no longer a passive waiting, but becomes an active choice. Choosing to trust love even when circumstances are unfavorable. Choosing to walk with me instead of merely complaining when you feel held back. Let me read your life with you, section by section. If you allow me to explain your past in the light of mercy, you will be surprised, as the years you thought were failures will become the foundation of your growth. The disappointments will become milestones, marking hidden rescues. The times you were angry with me will become memories for which you are grateful, because through them you were kept from even more dangerous dead ends. I do not change your history, but I can change the way you read it. And when the way you read it changes, the future also opens up in an entirely different direction. Today, I invite you to do something very simple, yet very real. Lift your face. Even if your eyes are still wet, take a deep breath. Even if your heart feels cramped, and say to me, even if only in a whisper, I want to believe that you are protecting me, even when I cannot see it. That sentence, small as it seems, is a knock loud enough to open a new season in your soul. From seeing yourself as the victim of every event, you will gradually become my companion in each decision, each turning point. And one day, when you look back, you will understand not a single moment was meaningless. Music. Because every second of your life has been touched by me with a love that is patient to the very end. Do you know, after all, I have told you about not standing still anymore, about not just waiting for miracles without taking a step. I want to lead you to a very concrete, very simple image, one that is enough to orient the rest of your life. Imagine your life as a tree. Music, not a flower pot on a windowsill. They're merely for decoration, withered whenever it may be, but a great tree planted in the soil, entrusted with giving shade, shelter, and fruit, with roots that sink deep into the earth. That tree needs one thing above all. It must be near water. Zehyo. For if its roots are sunk only into dry ground, it will survive for a while, and then run out of strength. So it is with your soul. If you live only on passing emotions, on a few brief moments of inspiration, and nothing more, without sinking your life deep into my word, you will constantly feel empty, tired, dry, and you will be very easily broken by a gust of wind that is hardly worth mentioning. When I speak to you about cooperation with me, I am not simply telling you be strong and leaving you there. I give you a very concrete path. Let my word become the underground stream that nourishes the whole root system within you. Others may see only the trunk, branches, and leaves, but I see the roots. Others judge you by what you show on the outside. I know what you are living on inside. There are people who outwardly seem full of zeal, speak powerfully, work tirelessly in what is called holy work. Yet their roots are not sunk into me, music, but into praise, achievements, and recognition. Just one drought, a criticism, a failure, an unexpected event is enough to shake the whole tree. But the one who chooses to root themselves in my word is different. They may be less noisy, less noticeable, but deep within is a web of roots, quietly drawing life from me. Day after day, hour after hour, my word is the clear, ever-flowing water at your feet. It is not merely sentences printed on paper, but my breath, my thoughts, the beat of my heart, given to you in human language. When you open my word, not as you would read a book, but as you would sit before the one who loves you and wants to say something to you today, in this very moment. Then each line, each word, begins to flow like water into the driest places of your heart. You may not feel anything special the first time you read, but like a tree that drinks water, little by little, you too are being nourished without realizing it. Every time you grow still and let one sentence from my word echo within you a few seconds longer, you are allowing the roots of your soul to go a little deeper. Out there is so much noise fighting for your mind. News, social media, endless conversations, endless comparisons. All of that is like swirling winds, kicking up dust, leaving your thoughts scattered. My word, however, is the opposite. My word is like a quiet stream flowing at the bottom of your heart, unassuming music, and silent yet persistent, steady, crystal clear. If you allow yourself each day to step away from that noise for a little while, just a little, to sit down, take a deep breath, and say to me, "Today, please speak to me through your word," you will begin to notice the difference. Your gaze will change. Your reactions will change. The way you look at events will change. Not because you are trying to be more positive, but because the water within you has changed. Then in time, like a tree that has reached its season, you will begin to see fruits quietly appear. Not the glittering things on the surface that people marvel at for a moment and then forget, but the hidden changes in your character, in the way you love, in the way you endure, in the way you forgive. In the past, a single harsh word was enough to make you explode. But now, you know how to soften your voice and choose your words. Before, whenever something did not go your way, you were thrown into confusion and resented me. But now you know how to pause, breathe, and ask, "What are you teaching me through this?" Once you were easily irritated, self-centered, demanding, but slowly, a strange gentleness begins to grow within you. A patience you never believed you possessed. These are the first sweet fruits of my word in your life. Others may not know how to name them, but I know every fruit, every fragrance, every seed hidden inside them. You may be surprised to realize that the very situations that used to make you collapse still happen now, but the outcome is no longer the same. The wind still blows, the rain still falls, and at times, the storms are even fiercer than before. Yet the difference does not lie in the weather. It lies in the roots. A tree whose roots reach deep to the water source does not fear a long, scorching heat, because beneath the surface there is always moisture. In the same way, when your life is rooted in my word, you will not be emptied by long seasons of drought. You may grow tired, you may weep, you may feel confused, but deep in your heart, you know you are not abandoned. You no longer come to me with a tone of accusation asking, "Why did you let this happen?" But you speak to me with a faith that still trembles, yet is real. I do not understand everything, but I know you are here. That is the difference between a soul that lives off the surface of its emotions and a soul that lives from the steady stream of my word. When I ask you to trust my word, I am not calling you into blindness. I am calling you to anchor your life in the one thing that doesn't decay. The world, people, circumstances, even the emotions inside you. Everything changes. Today, people may love you. Tomorrow, they may forget you. Today, you may feel full of energy. Tomorrow, you may only want to lie down and let go. But my word does not rise and fall with your moods. What I have spoken over you, that you are loved, chosen, called, kept, does not change just because of a few events this music week. When you hold on to those words, repeating them in your heart, and building your house on them, you will walk through days as dark as ink, and still keep a light that no one can steal from you. You have often searched for security in the eyes of others, in words of praise, in the sense of safety that money, plans, and relationships seem to bring. I do not blame you, for that is the reflex of a heart that has been wounded and only wants to cling to what it can see. But I want you to go further than that. I want you to know that true security is not found in how many things you can hold on to, but in whose hand you are held. And you only know that you are being held by me when you let my words soak into the way you think. Even though you walk through the dark valley, I am still there. Nothing can separate you from my love. I know you through and through. Such words are not slogans. They are anchors for a heart that so easily wavers. You may say, music. But I have tried reading your word. I found it difficult to understand dry, and I felt nothing at all. I hear that, and I understand. A tree newly planted on the first day cannot demand to be tall and full of branches at once. What matters is not how you feel today, but whether you are willing to remain by that stream day after day. There will be times when you open Scripture with an empty heart and tired eyes, and not a single line seems to touch you. Yet it is precisely on those days that the roots of faith are being drawn deeper, not by feelings, but by decisions. You did not run away. You did not go back to the things that so easily excite you, yet ruin your soul. You chose to stay with me in the silence, and I never forget that. I am not asking you to become a scholar or to understand every detail at once. I am asking you for one small but very real thing each day. No matter how busy you are, set aside for me a portion of time that you do not share with anyone else. Take up my word as you would take my hand. Read slowly. It is all right to read only a little, but let one sentence linger longer in your heart. Ask me, what are you saying to me here? Then throughout the day, as you work, as you move around, as you feel yourself about to lose your temper or give up, remember that sentence. That is how your roots drink water, not loudly, not ostentatiously, but steadily and faithfully. My child, I know you have wandered for many years, walked through many barren seasons, carried many wounds that made you think you were ruined, that it was too late. Yet just as a tree bears on its trunk the rings of its age, each ring a year of sun and storm, you too carry on your being the marks of every stage you have come through. In your eyes, they are the signs of failure. In mine, they are the proof that you are still standing. And if today you decide to move your life away from the dry ground where lies, comparisons, shame, and despair reign, and draw nearer to the water source, music of my word, then from those rough, weathered rings, I will push up new shoots. From the very places you thought were dead, I will cause green branches to grow. I do not promise you a future without storms. I promise you this if you let me teach you to live by my word. The storms will no longer define you. You will no longer be merely someone crushed by circumstances, but one who knows how to use each gust of wind to drive your roots deeper. You will no longer only flee from trials, but will learn to stand firm, not by your own strength, but by the strength of the one who has said, I am with you. That is what I long for. You to discover the life of a tree planted in the right place beside the never-failing stream. That is my word, and from there you will know what it is to live, not merely to survive. Today, as you read these lines, They are also a very gentle yet very clear invitation. Begin again with me starting from the simplest place, my word. Let everything you have heard, experienced, stumbled over, and risen from be gathered into one point, putting down roots. Root yourself not in your own wisdom, not in passing feelings, but in my steadfast voice. If you agree, you need only say quietly to me, Lord, from today, please teach me to live beside your word. The rest I will patiently do with you day by day, word by word, step by step. You do not realize that what has shattered within you has never fallen outside my sight. Those evenings when you sit alone in silence, trying to appear normal to the whole world, while inside you feel like a house with its foundations collapsed. I witness every one of them. The relationships you thought would walk with you for a lifetime and suddenly broke without clear reason. The promises people made to you and then swallowed. The phone calls that stopped abruptly, the messages that were never answered. All these are not scraps to be thrown away, nor are they proofs that you are worthless to me. They are raw material with which I rebuild you in a different way, deeper, truer, more solid. I allow certain things to fall apart, not because I am tired of you, but because I want to uproot what could one day destroy your soul if it were left standing there, looking music, peaceful on the outside, while already rotten within. You have often asked yourself, why does it have to be me? Why do I have to endure abandonment, misunderstanding, being used? Those questions have eaten away at your self-respect, making you feel like a fragile object that anyone can use and then discard. But my child, I have never looked at you that way. When you are bruised by broken and distorted relationships, I do not stand at a distance to judge. I stand so near that you would only need to turn your head slightly to touch me. Those stumblings, music, those broken romances, those friendships you could not keep. I do not call them your shame. I call them the end point of a path that was never meant for you. I allow you to hurt, but I don't allow that pain to be meaningless. I use those very torn places to open in you a new way of seeing yourself, of seeing me, and of seeing the worth of a heart that knows how to love, but is no longer naive. Right now, you may see nothing but the rubble of your life, collapsed plans, shaken faith, music, weary emotions, a zeal that once burned bright, now reduced to ashes. You feel as though everything is over beyond repair. But I look at that same scene with completely different eyes. I see a building about to enter its reconstruction phase. I do not build a new house on cracked foundations. I dig down to the roots, reinforcing from beneath patiently. Little by little. I am not in a hurry with you. I lay each foundational stone again. Trust, self-respect, discernment. The courage to say no to what is not good. I inscribe my promises anew on the fresh walls of your soul, so that this time your life will no longer be built on what people say, but on what I have spoken. I do not decorate halfway. I rebuild the whole structure. You think you have wasted so many years chasing things unworthy of you, trying to hold on to people who did not want to stay, only to end up empty-handed. You regret the youth that slipped away in confusion. Regret the energy poured into the wrong places. Regret the sleepless nights spent trying to preserve something that you now clearly see did not come from me. Psychoi. You call those years wasted, thrown away, a meaningless music detour in your life. But I do not call them that. In my eyes, not a single one of your days has been discarded. Even in the years when you lost your way, I was quietly sowing seeds into them. A sensitivity to the pain of others. Real life experience. Awareness of hidden traps. The capacity to empathize with those who have fallen as you have. You thought you had gathered only wounds, but in truth, you have gathered a treasure. The treasure of a heart that is no longer superficial. I know you still carry the thought. If I had not taken that wrong turn, I would probably be much better now. You compare yourself with this person and that person. Those who seem to have walked the right path from the beginning, stumbling less, breaking less. You wonder whether I still want to use you when your journey has been so uneven and tangled. I want to answer you plainly. I do not merely still want to use you. I intend to use those very twists and turns as material for your mission. What you see as detours, I will turn into channels of grace for others. The mistakes you are ashamed of, if you let me purify them, will become a language that enables you to reach hearts stuck in the very places where you once fell. I do not erase your past. I sanctify it. What I am about to do in the coming seasons of your life is not just to pay you back in a mechanical way. I do not calculate with you the way people calculate wages for however many years were lost. The same number of years will be returned. I do more than that. I can gather up the lessons, the tears, the times you collapsed from exhaustion, and press them into an inner strength that easy peace could never music produce. I can open doors for you that make you exclaim, "If I had not gone through those dark years, I would never have had the depth to step into today." I will lead you into encounters with me. Moments when you see my hand intervening so clearly that you cannot possibly call it coincidence. Then you will understand that the long nights, the prayers you thought had been swallowed up, the sobs no one heard have all been gathered by me. Not a single fragment lost. That is why I beg you not to give up at this moment. You are standing at the stretch of road on which many have turned their backs, the stretch between weariness and breakthrough, between wanting to let go and being on the verge of glory. You feel as if you have changed so little, but I see the quiet shifts inside you, the small decisions you do not notice, the time you chose to pray instead of venting your anger, the time you kept silent instead of reacting according to your old instincts, the time you dared to face the truth instead of running away. I see it all. Do not despise those small steps. It is from those movements that seem invisible that a transformation is slowly being formed. A tree does not grow up in a single morning. It grows through countless hidden days of drawing sap from the depths of the soil. You do not need to leap in a giant step to come to me. I do not demand of you a dramatic about-face in order for me to receive you. I ask you for only one small movement, an honest whisper, a simple help me from the deepest place of your heart, a very modest yet sincere resolve. You may still be trembling, still doubting, still carrying wounds that have not fully healed. It is all right. Just move. One very small step toward me is enough for me to run toward you. My love does not stroll slowly. It runs. The moment you barely dare to lift your foot off the ground, I am already ready to cross the rest of the distance to gather you into my arms. You do not have to walk this whole journey in your own strength. There is a feast of honor that I am preparing just for you, a place with only your name written on it, which no one else can claim. It is not a music feast of illusion or show, but a feast of true peace, of inner freedom, of you sitting down without having to pretend you are all right. On that table, I will set before you things you have never dared to ask for restoration within your heart. Healthy relationships, a clear sense of calling the capacity to love without destroying yourself. I am not inviting you there to hear your faults recounted. I am inviting you to hear me speak again, your true identity. You are my child, not the product of your falls. When you step into that place and look back, you will see that even the stretches you cursed and the turns you wished you could erase from your memory all join together into a meaningful path. you will come to recognize what you now find hard to accept. What you called punishment was, in fact, my hand keeping you from the abyss. What you called abandonment was really me pulling you out of places where my presence was no longer recognized by you. What you called the end was actually the first page of a new chapter. You have looked at everything from below and drawn hasty conclusions, but from above. I keep on writing when you think the story is already closed. I am not saying these things merely to soothe you for the moment, or so that you, music, can be temporarily at ease, and yet go on living as before. I speak to prepare your heart for a real change of season. There will come a time when, if you agree to let me lead you, you will no longer live with the question, why did that happen to me? But you will begin to ask, how can I use what has happened to love and serve better? When the question in your heart changes, you will clearly see that your heart has been rebuilt. The old cracks are still there, but they no longer throb with pain. They become the lines of a pattern that shows the vessel has passed through fire without shattering. Hold on to this as a sure promise. I do not forget your tears. I do not waste the years that seemed useless. I do not brush aside the days when you forced a smile while your soul was falling apart. All of it will be gathered into the work I am building. One day, when you look back, you will not say, I wish that had never happened. But you will whisper, if I had not walked through that dark stretch, I would not know how near the Lord is today. And then you will understand. Waiting is not an empty, meaningless span, but a bridge that carries you from the old self into the new life in me. Therefore, even if nothing seems to have clearly changed, yet even if the story of your life is still full of lines you do not want to read again, I still invite you to believe this. I am at work in the silence. I am reshaping your inner structure. I am preparing a future you cannot yet imagine. And I am waiting not for you to be perfect, but for the moment when you believe that with me, no chapter of your life is ever the final one. My child, long before you understood what a promise is, I had already bent down over your life and placed a covenant upon it. I am not the kind who speaks today and forgets tomorrow, who remembers you when in a good mood and abandons you when sad. I do not change my heart according to emotions, and I do not measure my love by what you manage to do or what you fail to do. My love for you does not rest on performance nor on outward piety, and it is not shaken by your missteps. I love you simply because you are you, the child I have called by name from eternity. My beloved child, if these words have reached the quiet places of your heart today, do not keep them hidden inside. Take a moment right now and write in the comments below the sentence or promise that touched you most deeply, or simply type, I receive this, so that others scrolling through may feel encouraged and know they are not alone. Your honest words can become a light for someone else who is walking through the same silence or waiting season you once faced. If this message has brought even a small measure of peace, hope, or renewed strength to your soul, show your love for it by liking this video and sharing it with the people you care about. Every like, every comment, and every share helps carry my voice further, reminding more hearts that they have never been forgotten and that my love for them has never changed. You are my child, and I am still writing beautiful chapters through your life. Walk forward with courage, for I am with you every step of the way. Amen.